So anyway, I think with this, we are good to start.
You can start, Tilman. You can do this. I think you bring in the energy. Let's
All
do
right.
it.
Hi, and welcome everybody to the second episode of the Extra Mile podcast, here with Puria and myself.
Welcome.
Puria, welcome.
Thank you, Tilman. Welcome too.
Yes, it's really good to have you here. We are a few days after Christmas and we are again back at work. We're recording the podcast today. So Puria, how were the Christmas days for you?
Yeah, beautiful. So I would say recharging, meeting the family, playing board games, and now it's like slightly getting back to working mode again for me. And today was also a funny day. I was at a magic show, so nothing I do frequently, so also a special occasion. And yeah, how was it for you, Tilman, the last days?
So Puria, let's make some magic happen today in the podcast. I mean, the last days were beautiful as well. So I spent some time with friends. Some of them I only see once per year, with my parents and sisters in Saarland, which is near the French and Luxembourgish border here in Germany, and also with my grandparents, aunts, uncles. So it was really nice. But of course, I'm also now happy to be back in Munich, doing some self-study, wrapping up the year, doing some reflection. I actually really enjoy those days between Christmas and New Year's.
Yeah, sounds fantastic. Yeah, I always think like Christmas is a good way to slow down until you speed up again with new goals for the year. And today I think we're also going to talk about like our goals for next year and our reflection and like this energy going around. I hope we can also share it with others. And one thing I would like to highlight, we had last week our first episode. We both didn't know how this would develop. And we already got feedback from folks listening to us. So yeah, much love sent out to you folks. So thanks for listening. Some of you listen to us during the gym, which is fantastic, or traveling to work. So this means a lot to us. And we also take the accountability seriously, like in terms of challenges we define here. So it should be fun, but also something that you see us to, produce something where we commit on. And yeah, exciting things also, which we built throughout the week. So which you will see now or have seen as results. And yeah, this is now our mode. So from now on, it's challenges and then building stuff and sharing it with you.
I think this is a great segue now into the show. But before we go there, we will speak about the challenges that we did or that the things that we built for you in the last days. We will do a small throwback to 2025, speaking about some of the trends, some of the things that happened, but also some personal things, manifesting 2026, how we do it, and maybe a few things that we want to manifest. We will speak about vibe coding, context engineering, and the mindset necessary for it, I think because it was a pretty big topic this year, and some other things that recently inspired us. I think with this, let's just go right in. And Puria, you were mentioning the challenge that you had to do. What did you promise us and what are you delivering?
Yeah, last week you gave me the challenge to build a video about AgentCore runtime on how to deploy an agent from scratch into a production-ready environment. So having a HTTPS endpoint, which can scale, which is secure. And actually, I did that. So the video is ready. Right now, I'm editing it into a cinematic format. So a lot of passion is going into this video. And fingers crossed, it's going to go live tonight. And I can tell you the challenge was fulfilled. I could deploy it with additional commentary under 15 minutes in real time. So it's very exciting. And yeah, definitely make sure to check it out. And we will share it with you like in the description of this episode, but also on LinkedIn, you will find the video.
I'm really looking forward to watching it, Puria. And if I think of my role at AWS, I'm in charge of two large clients, but we have thousands of clients. And these thousands of clients have 10,000s and 100,000s of engineers. And now we have all those new builders who can use these agentic tools for building apps, building agents. And I'm thinking how many people you can help with this, making it easier for them to innovate. So this is amazing. Great, and I'm looking forward to the video. Yes.
Yeah, and Tilman, how about you? You had also some challenges.
Yes, so the first one was actually quite easy. I posted the recipe for my vegan, gluten-free, and sugar-free cookies. You find them on the LinkedIn page. And this does mean a lot for me because I like this idea of abundance. And of course, this is a big term. But this is also abundance for me when I can have some very delicious cookies that are organic, that are still healthy. It's just about the how to do it. I'm sharing this recipe, which I can really recommend. So this was number one. The second thing is I recently started creating manifestation videos. So how can AI be useful for personal development, for helping us reach our goals? Manifestation videos are obviously a great way because it helps us visualize something and really emotionally immerse in this new scene, being that future self. So I created this manifestation video generator, which each of you can use. It's available on my website. You type in what your ideal future looks like. You also type in who should appear in the video. It can be you, it can be a partner, it can be kids, it can be friends. It generates a prompt which you can still adjust, and then it generates a 12-second video which you can then use to manifest. And I've done this myself. The beautiful thing is that these videos, they are amazing, and the images, they kind of stick to my mind. But this is just a part of the movie. The movie can continue to play in my mind. And I have this habit of visualizing, manifesting something before I go to sleep. So now I oftentimes think of those scenes that I manifest. So this is the second thing that I created for you. And the third thing, I think it's also incredibly useful for those who are now getting started with agents or who are accelerating their agent building with the help of Puria's video. So I have a 14 minutes video that teaches you how to start vibe coding. Basically how to build a website, a little web app using modern frameworks, doing it with Kiro, with Codex, with Claude Code. And in this video, you will really learn the basics. When I learned this initially, I had these very long tutorials and I had this reluctance to get started with it. But with those short videos that we are providing you, I think there should be nothing stopping you to get started now. And later in the episode, we will actually go a little bit deeper why it's so important now, if you haven't started yet, now to accelerate your vibe coding, context engineering journey.
Yeah, it's amazing. Congrats, Tilman. I think it was a lot of things to do, and you also managed it throughout the Christmas day. So I really appreciate it, and I'm super proud of both of us to complete our challenges. Mine is not, if I'm super honest, like not 100% done, but tonight it will come live. So then, yeah, we got the full package for you folks. So you get like from the context engineering to create the agent, orchestration logic, to deploying it in a production ready state. So everything for free, of course. And yeah, also looking forward from hearing about like how you are using this. So yeah, definitely stay in touch and share your experience testing this, what you are putting out into the world.
Yes,
and Tilman,
we
I want also to do this video manifestation myself. So this is something I want to do next week.
And please share the feedback. And in 1 year, also share the feedback about the things that became reality. Maybe this is a good segue now actually into one of the topics we wanted to speak about today, which is about manifesting 2026, because we are a few days ahead of the new year. And Puria, I would be really curious about your manifestation process, manifestation practice. What do you do in terms of setting goals for the upcoming year?
Yeah, for me, it's slim, I would say, my process. What I do is I have this routine every morning. I make myself Americano. I sit down. I don't look at anything. I just drink the Americano and think about what is the next thing I want to do. And I have also done this for next year now, especially like in the last days. I did this like over multiple iterations. And there are a few things I have manifested for myself. Like personally, this is going to be a very important year in terms of how my life will change, but also in terms of how my profession will evolve. So one thing I have already shared publicly, becoming a Udemy instructor. This is also kind of connected to the retro, but for next year, I'm taking this one super serious. For me, it's like a mission, like AI education. It's super important for me, and I want like to help as many people as possible with the right matching, finding the right audience with the right topic, and helping ordinary people, but also helping specialists, developers, and architects, and having as much impact as possible. So this is one of the main goals. Then everything personally, which I can't share, but this is for me super important to achieve few things. Also in terms of health, so to also like have the best conditions I have ever had when it comes to my fitness, to go there also one level higher. By the way, listening to the podcast episode, I had it on while I was on the treadmill myself, and this did something with me. So there is something magical when we come together. So I could even feel it myself, and I found it somehow weird, funny, but I was also happy that we did it because this was also confirmation for me. And yeah, so to summarize, there is something happening in the job profession category, Udemy instructor and AI education as a mission, personal life changes. And my method to do it is really just to reduce all the signals around me, which could be watching something or even reading something, really just listening to my insight and then trusting the thoughts that come up, the visions that come up. And typically, I don't do so much of the visualization when I start to manifest. I used to do it when I was younger. So for example, when I went to the gym for the first time, I learned visualize how your body should look like what you're aiming for. And this helped me a lot. Nowadays, I'm doing this less, but something I really want to try out is this tool that you have built. So I want to prompt and visualize this outcome for next year and to have something visually and keep this with me throughout the year.
You know, visualization or manifestation, it's a multi-dimensional process. So the more senses you can engage, the more immersive it gets and the better you can manifest it. And thank you for sharing those goals. I want to say no pressure. Now everybody, but I think this is great. You are sharing this with the universe. There's this saying, those who ask, they shall receive. So
powerful.
So I think this is really powerful. Maybe before I share about my goals for next year, do you want to share about the things that you manifested last year, and if anything of that became reality, and what are maybe the things you are especially proud of?
Yeah, so I would start professionally. So beginning of this year, I had the goal to get a very special customer to AWS. And this was a very complex thing to do. And for me, this was one of the main goals where I put all my energy, focus everything on getting this one done. And actually, this was something I could achieve throughout the year. So this was maybe if I think about it, this didn't maybe change a lot around me. So I still have the same respect from my colleagues or the same energy and everything around me. But I had the feeling this was a challenge I wanted to achieve myself, to prove to myself, can I do it? And therefore, this meant a lot to me. And also getting a large task of working with a task force, helping to grow the generative AI business inside the German software vendor team. This was also the largest challenge I ever had in my job. And also this one was one of the main goals I had for this year. The third pillar I had was going as big as possible with my speaking engagement. So I had a few conferences in mind. One of them was the AWS Hamburg Summit, where I had a breakout session about Gen AI security, prompt injection protection. By the way, there was a recent news how this topic is still relevant. So maybe we can also get deeper around that later on. I would like to share a story with you, which I found funny and which shows that this topic is still important. And then connecting this also with finally going the step of showing the world my Udemy course, because October 24, I actually started creating my first slides for my Udemy course about generative AI. And I had this goal to go live at beginning of 25. And if I'm honest, I didn't achieve beginning of 25. At the end, it was beginning of October 25. So it was a 1 year gap. But still, I could achieve my goal, which was to still do it in 25. And it also connected with this journey of going more to the outside, not even at conferences, but even leveraging my own channels now through Udemy, a podcast with you or YouTube, and reaching more people and really trying out completely new things. Yeah, on the personal side, there were also a few goals that I had in terms of relationship building, also leveraging relationships which are in a state of friendships, but also using that time to build something together. Like what we're doing together now with the podcast, really leveraging this time to do something meaningful and impactful. And this was always something which I love to do. And this year I manifested it, and I'm super, super grateful that this turned out and became now reality. And it's something I'm also executing on.
Beautiful, beautiful. And the last thing that you said about relationships and creating something meaningful together, I think this is another example of abundance. You can be with a person that you are truly connected with, about a topic that you're really passionate about, and creating something that has a larger impact, which contributes to that human need of growth, but also of contribution. So yeah, I think seeking for these moments and situations of abundance, they are everywhere out there if we are just open for it.
Yeah, absolutely. And also just trying this out. I mean, I had also a mini startup, which I tried out in 25, and we worked on this with a partner, and this was one of the goals I had for 25. Like this thing would be like a hockey stick going off the roof, and it didn't. But this was one of my failures, but we learned a lot together. So this also helped us to reshape the manifestation for next year, to really tackle this in a completely different strategy. And this was also for me a super good outcome. I was actually even happy that this one didn't turn out successful, because maybe 1 year later, this wouldn't have been the position I would like to be, because maybe the category we picked wasn't the right fit for us with our background. So this also showed me how the universe is steering. So how it's giving us also feedback on the manifestations that we do.
You know, every single thing that is not working out leaves space or open space for something more incredible, more meaningful, more amazing to come in. And by the way, just listening to you, it helps me reflect so much. So thank you for sharing those things, Puria.
Yeah, thank you as well, Tilman. And now I would like to turn it to you and ask you first on your manifestation strategies for next year and how you're tackling this. And also, like, have you already finalized it, or is it an ongoing process for you?
So it's an ongoing process. I actually started this a few years ago, and it gets more sophisticated every year. So I just share a few things about the process. So I definitely do some meditation, some priming to get into state, then writing down my goals, a lot of the things I'm already aware of, a lot of the things that they are already in my visualization board, in my goal overview. But I take this change of the years really as a moment to embrace the goals, to manifest them. So I write down my goals, being in a good state, and then I visualize those goals in my mind. But I also want to get them into my body, so I speak them out. I move like the person who has already achieved those goals. I imagine I get into the future, so I become my future self and living as that person who has already achieved that. I typically go for a run, and during that run, I only focus on those goals. And then there are a few modifications, and I think these will just come in the flow this year. So this year, for the first time, I'm using these manifestation videos as well. You know, in Lumina OS, in my app, the goals are visualized, so I will work over those goals because some of them are now achieved. I can update them. So it's an ongoing process, but at the same time, really a moment to ritualize this. Actually, on Tuesday, I'm organizing a goal-setting workshop. I've done this the last 3 years already. It's just beautiful, people coming together. And what I experience so often that even weeks or months or even a year after that, people come to me and say, yeah, that moment, in that 1 hour that I spent with you, just focusing on it, this came true and this happened and that happened. It's just magic. So what I also want to do this year, I will spend New Year's Eve in San Francisco. I want to do it more spiritually. I don't want to stay up so late or party so much. I want to do it more spiritually. I want to start into the new year very strong. I want to contact people, connect with people that are important for me. So make it more of a spiritual experience. Yeah, so what about those goals for next year? So there are some big shifts happening for me professionally. First of all, there are some professional goals and objectives. I think in a nutshell, I want to help customers innovate with AI. This is one of the things I'm really passionate about. I'm also passionate about helping people grow. I want to continue to grow my communities. And with those communities, and in some of these I'm leading sessions, I'm leading workshops, just larger groups of people, more impact, also reaching more people with my application Lumina OS, but overall have a very strong professional focus on helping my customers, because it is something that I'm super passionate about. And there's a lot more, but I think these are the major ones. And when I write down my goals, I make it much more concrete. I don't want to share all the details now, but I will certainly share the reflection with you afterwards.
Yeah, really beautiful. Thanks for sharing, Tilman. One thing I would like to ask you is about your session next Tuesday. Maybe you can also share with the audience what time you're planning it, and I will also definitely bookmark it. Nice. So let me write it down, and then I try also to join.
So it's on Tuesday, 5 p.m. Berlin time.
Nice.
And
all right.
8 a.m. Pacific time.
All right. Yeah, folks, you heard it. So if you like to join, we can do this now together, led by Tilman. I personally trust Tilman in this, because he is, for me, one of the leading persons when it comes to figuring out methods. I think you could already hear it, like how he structures his way to tackle this. And I think it's a great learning experience. And also thank you, Tilman, for organizing this.
Yeah. And Puria, later after the session, and each of you, when you come to one of my workshops or community events, you can just approach me directly. I want to share with you some of my visualization images and dashboards that I built in the past, and then the stories what became true. It's just magic. Some of it I want to share with you. So things that I manifested last year, and I actually painted it as well. This was also interesting. So I painted my goals on a piece of paper. And I still have it. Some of the things were building communities. I wrote down WhatsApp community. Now I have a WhatsApp community. I have meetup communities with over 9,000 members. We have reached over 1,500 people in person with those communities. I've reached over 2,000 people now virtually with different sessions. I also had some speaking sessions on other stages where I was a guest. Something I'm really passionate about. So I also trained a group inside of Amazon, a community that is called Connect Munich. I did a workshop there. So these are some goals in the personal development space. Now, speaking about the goals with AWS, with my clients, first of all, I became a team lead this year. So another learning experience in terms of leadership. This was a big thing for me. And working with some of the most strategic customers. And oftentimes, and I've been doing that now for the last 5.5 years, but oftentimes I go somewhere where there is not much, maybe a customer that is very disengaged or they are just consuming it, and making them a strategic partner, building that strategic partnership. And that requires going in there with a very bold vision. And I did that with one of my customers. I remember in January in the US, we had a kickoff, and I wanted to make this customer one of the most strategic go-to-market partners and one of the most strategic partners in the AI space. And the team was aligned on that as well. But at that time, we didn't really know how to do that yet. But we had found some people on the customer side who were sharing that vision, who wanted to accomplish that as well. And then throughout the year, we just built this tremendous joint value proposition, and some of it you can now see on LinkedIn, but of course also on the website of my customers. We are now approaching enterprises to bring agentic AI into those enterprises. What started with a vision, it's really materializing.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Really about Puria, we also work together in the AI task force, really helping customers at a broader scale to adopt AI use cases, which was, I think, were very meaningful. I also had this vision to organize local community events, and most of them I actually organized on behalf of AWS. We organized 3 AI community meetups that were local. We organized and supported 3 hackathons here with local entrepreneur communities, with customers. So something was... People were really opening up this year. People were opening up for helping out each other, for asking for help, but also for iterating faster in terms of innovation, for asking the right questions. So a lot of the things, they became reality also, that I built Lumina OS and getting more users on the platform, but also using it myself. And it embodies all the principles that I'm living, but that I'm also teaching, and a few other things. But I'm so impressed. And obviously, building a route for me to go to San Francisco, working in the tech AI space, it's magic.
So if you would pick, and thanks already going into also thinking about what happened this year for you, what would be the top 3, top 5 highlights you had? I think one thing I personally know is that you said this year you wanted to build communities in the AI space and self-development space. This is something you already also touched, but maybe a few other things you want also to highlight where you thought about this is manifested and I'm going to tackle it. I think last time you also shared with us the Lumina OS story. Maybe San Francisco, if you want to dive deeper a bit more. I think this one is interesting. And yeah, if there is anything else you want to highlight as well from 25.
Yeah. I mean, San Francisco, it is one example where one morning I woke up and I thought, I've had this goal for such a long time, but I don't have a concrete plan now. So that day I updated Lumina OS with visual representation of goals. Since then I connected with it every day and I took massive action towards that goal. So that's an important thing. Just manifesting it, just visualizing it is of course not enough. You also gotta take action. You gotta actively focus on it. So this was one of my highlights, how in several situations and moments I made those things become reality. By exposing myself in those communities or organizing these events, I met some incredible people. I met someone who became my girlfriend. We were together for 8 months this year. She's an amazing girl, and And now she's working at another tech company here in Munich as well. So I met really wonderful people. And we are not together anymore, but we finished on good terms. And I just want to share, I met some amazing people. Another person, he's a SaaS entrepreneur. He said, Tilman, there is another Tilman in AWS. And you should definitely... It was the first time I heard of that other Tilman. And this other Tilman, he's, I think, 5 or 6 years younger than me. He became one of my very best and closest friends. And we've done so much together this year. This Tilman, he actually introduced me to somebody from CDHK, which is a quite strong student group from TU Munich. They work closely with Stanford. A lot of unicorns come out of this student group. So together with Fabian, who he introduced me to, we organized a hackathon with CDTM people. Together with Lovable, OpenAI was another sponsor, 11 Labs was another sponsor. So creating this space for innovation. And then out of that evolved another collaboration opportunity together with AWS and then with Start Munich. So one thing was really leading to the other thing. And I also want to say, and this comes to this thought of execution. This was not always easy this year. Some of the times were actually really, really tough. Some quite short nights. And I think everybody who has been working with me knew that I was going up and beyond for my customers. And then sometimes on the weekend or in the evening, I would be still fully present on a community event. But I really realized that manifesting something, but then also taking action. And in the process, doing it with heart, doing it with trust, building a strong network around, because I needed the help of other people. All the time I was asking people for advice. Very few, or probably nothing that I accomplished this year, I did it by myself. They were always supporting people around me, but creating that space where people want to be around. So leading with a vision, but actually creating other leaders around me or being part of that. In AWS, we are all leaders. We are aligned by those principles. So a lot of the things made a lot of sense to me, or a lot of the things came together for me this year, but it wasn't without putting hard work into it as well. So I'm a big fan of, for example, maybe you know David Goggins. Do you know David Goggins?
Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, he was a driver for the name of this podcast for the folks who chimed in already episode 1. So shout outs to David Goggins.
Yeah. I mean, it's important to take my rest, and I do that more and more consciously.
That's
but
great.
Also there are times when I'm just going for the extra mile and I'm just playful with it. I just enjoy it.
And Tilman, if you would like reflect on things which worked out well this year, which you would like to continue, and things that either worked well or didn't work well, you want to cancel, or do it differently in the next year. If you would like compare it with your manifestation of the next year, what would it be?
Wow, Puria, you are asking quite tough questions. By the way, we did not practice. So. It reminds me of a recent episode that I watched from Diary of a CEO, from the YouTube podcast from Stephen Bartlett. And he's speaking about noise versus signals. Mm-hmm. And he also speaks about doing the things that don't scale. And that's an essay from, I think, 2013 from Paul Graham. And this signal versus noise, it's a very old concept, but Steve Jobs used it a lot. So what that means is I want to become even better at distinguishing or separating the signal from the noise. So focusing on those 20% of things that really have the biggest impact for me, but especially for the mission that I have. So focusing on those 20%. And one practice is every morning actually write down on a piece of paper, make it a part of your reflection. What are the signals? Write that on the left side. And then on the right side, write down what is the noise. And these will be many more things that just come in over time. And you can delegate them or say no to them, but just don't prioritize them. At the same time, this idea of doing things that don't scale. When you build a startup or when you do something new, oftentimes you have to try out things. You have to test things with users, or you have to go very unexplored routes. Oftentimes I hear people say, yes, but we have to do things in a scalable way. So yes, we all need to do things in a scalable way, but there are a lot of situations where we just have to try out things and we have to get the hands on ourselves. Maybe we have to write this first report, this PR FAQ, this concept for the innovation, building this POC ourselves, or finding any other scrappy way to do it, testing it, failing, trying another approach, and then scale. And I think finding that balance of, on the one hand, focusing on the right things that have the biggest lever and impact, at the same time, continuously being curious, trying new things out. This is super important. And when I think of the communities, when I think of working with my customers, when I think of building strategic partnerships with my customers that have a big business impact and ultimately a big impact on people, coming up with great innovations, there are a lot of lessons learned. A lot of lessons learned here. A lot of things I actually reflected about, which I want to adjust, modify a little bit. So when it comes to those community events, I want to work more with partners. And when it comes to customers, I think my customers, they're gonna experience it next year. But no, I think this is something we can maybe cover in another episode. What to me means sales, having a close relationship with a customer, helping a customer, being very agile in that, being a thought leader to the customer, but also a learner, always curious about the product, about the market, about the environment, connecting on a personal level, and being one team with the customer and really helping them and aligning all the resources needed for that. But also being straight, being clear. When something is not beneficial, being open, being transparent. I think we can fill an entire episode with those.
Yeah, and we should do that. So thanks a lot, Tilman. And I think from what you said is that you are definitely going to keep this way of being flexible, also like to try out new things and also leverage different mechanisms like peer FAQ, rapid prototyping, and trying out these ideas and see if they work out or not. And one thing I'm also curious about and very happy that you're resuming it also in the next years is your communities. Also, like from an outside perspective, I think this is something truly valuable, which you have kicked off throughout the year. And I'm also personally cheering for it so that you're doubling down on this. And yeah, and then fingers crossed that this one grows factor 2x, 10x even, or who knows, 100x. So definitely like to help whenever I can with these communities, especially when it comes to AI topics. I think there are things we can also drive together. And I would say maybe it's also a good time to think about some of the other topics we have for today. I really liked what you mentioned with Steven and the signal to noise. But yeah, Tilman, please go.
So keep that thought. If I can say one more thing.
Yeah.
Because I think it's a helpful practice. First of all, I will not be around all the time next year. So there will be more people in the communities stepping up and taking over responsibilities. And closely related to that, I created my first masterminds this year. So I created an AI Hustlers Mastermind. We actually call it AI Hustlers Mastermind. We met regularly, and because of the mastermind, I went to San Francisco Tech Week in early September. And so many other ways we inspired each other. This was just amazing. As part of our tech sales community here in Munich, we created a tech sales mastermind, like a small circle. We created very close friendships within that circle. Create your masterminds. That's a very important call out. I've listened to audiobooks or read books about best practices of successful people for years, and they've been saying it all over again. Create your mastermind. But I never did it. This year I tried it out. It brought already so much magic into my life. Okay, now Puria, back to your thought.
I want to react on that because this is a good thought stream. Also, like this pattern, which you just mentioned, is to scale, you need also to help others to step up the next level.
Yes.
Otherwise, it's not like scaling. It's just like your personal growth. So also beautiful story that this pattern within your communities, others now becoming the new leaders. Thanks for highlighting this one. I think this is a good learning nugget.
And I really want to highlight that. Maybe I didn't highlight this enough because
go for it. Super highlight now.
any success that I would say is a significant success for me. It's really facilitated, enabled also by other people. And even if I've done several trainings this year, so I do the Q&A. I love those Q&As, by the way. And then I ask questions back, and people give amazing answers, and the whole group is like, And people realize that they can learn so much from each other just by asking the right questions. So then me in a session, having an audience of 20, 50 people in front of me, I'm becoming the student listening to the answer of the person in the audience. And the ultimate conclusion is it's all supposed to happen in conversation. So we also do these trainings about communication. It's not just speaking at another person or talking to. It's being in conversation with another person. And if you work in a team, it should be collaborative.
Absolutely.
Being in constant communication, aligned on a vision, and everybody somehow knows what to do, and then we can move really, really big things. And if we do that across organizational borders, leveraging different technologies, different strengths, aligned with a mission, also aligned with values, then so much is possible.
Yeah, thanks for highlighting this. I think every organization that is super successful nowadays, moving with a high pace, need to have that. And also, if you look at the leadership principles by AWS, one of them is hire and develop the best. So it's not just like done once you hire excellent people, but you need to help them to develop to the next level. And this only can happen if people interact with each other. And this is something we are applying on a daily basis at AWS. And yeah, and this is something that can help every type of organization. I still have this signal to noise thing in my mind, but I see you want to continue on this one. So let's keep this one, and the parallel thread will come up at some point in the episode.
I just wanted to say I'm so grateful to AWS. I'm so grateful to Amazon.
100%.
These leadership principles are amazing.
Yeah, I love them as well. And this is like not that up because I'm a, you could say, quote unquote fanboy. Not really, but I saw them working, and that's why I've built trust into them. And I think they really help you to either improve even in personal goals that you have, but also in this professional environment. We could also do an episode on diving deeper on the leadership principles at some point. Yeah.
If you admit that you are also a fanboy, so the way I see you in your videos.
Of course. I mean, if that helps, I will make sure to get a very special AWS shirt for that episode or hoodie. And we do this AWS edition episode one day.
Let's do that. Let's do that.
Yeah.
That would be actually very cool. But now speaking about the signal and the noise, what does that actually mean for you?
So I had a very recent story where I was challenged by the universe exactly around that. So signal to noise, for me, it also means really understanding what's going on currently around you and making this classification, what is signal, what is noise. And when I launched my recent Udemy course, I spent around 2 months on it. And this release day was super special for me. And before you release a Udemy course, there is a review process. So you upload everything, then you get a feedback. For example, I have now 2 courses, and each time I got feedback on the thumbnail design. So this is easy to do. So you can tweak the thumbnail. For example, the first time I had to remove the text. The second time I had to optimize an icon for better readability. So this is something you can achieve, I would say, within 24 hours. This time it was a bit different because I got the feedback that the voice in my courses was AI generated, which wasn't the case because I took 1 week off just for the recording. I was on, you could say, workation. So in the mornings, I stood up early, recorded the videos. And then, this took me like 1 week to record everything. So obviously it wasn't AI. And if it would have been AI, I would be also super open to talk about it because we are in a space where we want to leverage AI as much as possible. But where it isn't AI, we can also openly speak up and, underline that it wasn't. So I got this feedback, and this first slowed down the release process. So now I had to make the signal to noise decision. Like the noise for me was this huge frustration. I invested so much time just to get this thing ready, and now it's not getting out to the world. And for me, it was like, okay, signal is Udemy has a concern. What are the actions you can take? So I thought about, well, let's help them out to just get whatever data points they need so that they can move on. This took me 10 minutes, so like to do the actions. And the decision to say, hey, from now on, it's okay, don't think about this topic anymore, and signal are other high priority topics you have, for example, the third course, or for example, kicking off a podcast like the Extra Mile. This is the signal, because the signal here is this helps to grow everything. This is like what you should put your energy on. So I responded to Udemy that, hey, it's not AI created. So the response back was I had to do a few more things like update the description of the course, which I did. So the course went live. I was super happy. And I reflected and thought myself, hey, great, good that you didn't spend too much time on this. Still on flowing just signal only, like a high signal to noise ratio. The course went live. I published it on LinkedIn. I got good feedback. I also reached out to my network, promoted it on multiple channels, or also like directly hitting people on WhatsApp, sharing the course, right? And it started to grow well. 3 days later, I got an email from Udemy again that they are actually taking off the course. And this was now, for me, again, a second shock. I was like, what should I do now? So I was in the space of between scared and also pessimistic, and I didn't know like what to do. So again, this challenge, what is signal, what is noise? Noise was, again, these emotions like, hey, what's going on? And for me, it was clear I spent so much time. Whatever data points they need, I can provide it to them. Again, going back to what is signals, so taking actions. I read through the email and understood that they had this feeling that someone is actually stealing my identity. So taking my avatar and creating a course on my behalf. What helped me was that I had previous recordings, like at conferences. So I just sent the email to them, sent my previous conferences, and also signed a paper that, hey, it's me, it's my videos. And I'm so glad that I just took actions and didn't think about anything else on top, because what happened is I sent this out, and 2 days later, the feedback came, hey, everything is okay, your course is activated again. And during this period where they took it off, they didn't take it completely offline, but you could see they slowed down the access to the course. So you couldn't find it that easy anymore. But I'm so happy I stayed calm and just focused on what matters. Because during this period, I did so many other things, like worked on my startup, worked on our podcast, worked on the next Udemy course. So everything else was mattered so much more. And the good news is it worked out, because now this course turned into the #1 AgentCore course on Udemy. And I'm so happy I trusted the signals and focused on them.
Puria, congratulations, by the way, for being the #1 course. And also,
thank you, Tilman.
It's a great best practice. I mean, how many of you ever experienced situations where some bad news come in, but then remaining calm and evaluating, okay, what are the options now? What are the options? What is something I can do? And then taking action and solving it. And apparently your recording quality must be really good that they already assume that you are an AI avatar.
It was ridiculous for me. I was like, dude, you worked so long in the AI space, you're kind of turning into AI. So time to be more human again. But I also took it as a compliment. And once it was done, in the moment, it was hard to see it as a compliment. But now, yeah, I fully see it as something good.
This is why we instruct our agents that show up in this podcast to be a little bit scrappy and not perfect. Yeah.
Yeah. We have the perfect avatars. Here's the proof.
Speaking about reducing noise,
yeah.
There are a few practices or a few places where I did that. For example, in my Twitter X account, some time ago I started really consistently following some people because in the podcasts that I listen to, consistently the same names, they start popping up. So I thought, okay, why not following them myself? But there was still so much noise around. So I just started to unfollow and to mute certain people. So now I have a pretty clean thread when I look into my Twitter account. And in a relatively short time, I can get the information that I want without too much distraction. So
great choice.
Think of the areas in your life where you can reduce the noise a little bit.
Absolutely. And I also believe no matter what the channel is, so it can be like real life interactions when you meet people. It can be also digital, no matter what. Noise can also be if people distract your thinking process, right? I also saw a recent article about how actually the NASA prepares the astronauts right before the critical mission phase starts. And what they do is they isolate everyone, because distraction takes so much energy. They need to be super laser focused on their mission because it's so critical. One mistake can have a huge impact. And this conscious isolation, and I think like we should maybe not be that like hardcore like a NASA mission, but still get this concept of isolation applied, for example, on a Twitter timeline, but other spaces. I think this really helps us to clean up everything around us. And I always saw that also with you, that you always do that continuously. And I'm also trying to do that more and more myself. And what I see is this really helps you to have a clearer mind and really focus on what matters. And if then you look back, you see that you're much more happier because you're doing the things that are in your frequency and really help you to do the growth which is pre-planned for you, I would always say, because I'm a very strong believer in destiny, but also like fulfillment of destiny needs kind of your involvement. I don't think it's an autopilot thing happening and it doesn't need our to do, because otherwise life would be so boring. But like still finding these nuances with our planning and decisions, it's really, really important.
Yeah, so you speak about destiny. I like to use the word mission or purpose.
Yeah.
And I also like to say choosing the universe each and every day. So I choose my universe each and every day by the actions that I take. But somehow there seems to be a bigger thing that I'm moving towards when I'm just open and showing up. And about focus, maybe one thing that many, many people could do is just turning off notifications on the phone, to have a little more digital detox, or just not looking into an Instagram feed anymore, or only at specific times. But at the same time, I found the best practice for myself. For example, I'm texting with customers or with work colleagues also on WhatsApp. I don't see an issue there, and sometimes we send each other voice messages. And I think this is natural, as these relationships are not only on a professional level, but there are also human relations involved. So for me personally, there doesn't have to be such a strict boundary when it comes to communicating to them, or texting them early in the morning, or responding to a message even in the evening or in the night. But then when I choose to turn off my notifications, which is most of the time, then I can be in my focus, in my flow. All right. Now,
yeah, maybe one point to that, Tilman. I think one thing that is connected to that is also this whole brain rot result that you get if you like overconsume social media, or even if you overconsume AI. Because if we super rely on AI making decisions and we don't actively reflect and create plans and understand truly things around us, like what is going on, even if AI creates a plan for us, do we review it? Do we really fully understand it? If not, there are like research papers recently showing for both heavy AI usage or social media that like the brain capacity of humans is decreasing. And there is one thing I saw which I found super interesting, is that if we apply bad patterns of communication, so it's not consumption, but communication with AI, even AI loses its intelligence and capability. So there is also a brain rot effect with AI if the data fed into the AI is not having a high quality, or false assumptions and false principles. And I think this is something we should really have in mind. Taking care of ourselves with how we consume, how we define like the signal to noise ratio, but also, because this is always our second pillar here, how we work with AI. So last week you also mentioned this communication skills with AI, context engineering mindset. I really would love also to discover that more with you today.
I would love to do that. And may I choose my commitment this time? Or
of course,
find additional ones. So
let's go. Maybe I can add spices on top.
One thing I really want to commit to is delivering a shorter version of my mindset for vibe coding and building with AI session on YouTube. So there is already a video out there which is really great. Anyway, I want to make it even a bit more compact and deliver this to you as another fresh recording on YouTube. And for the next time, I would like to offer you a public recording of my communication class, at least a part of it. Because when we deliver these sessions with an audience in the room, there is just magic happening. And there are some principles which I'm convinced of people are supposed to learn in school, but it does not happen. So eventually people figure out those things throughout their life. But there are so many things where personally I thought, oh, wow. Why did no one tell me this before? So I want to share this as well. And that's going to be one of the challenges for in 2 weeks. And if I may share one last thing in the social media context. So some of you might be following me on LinkedIn. And if you look at the posts that I create and the text, you will see that they are not AI generated. So I put really a lot of thoughts into them. And then sometimes I think, now I was 1 hour on this LinkedIn post. Is this really signal now, or is this noise? Is this signal or is this noise? And I think it's a continuous thing that I have to ask myself. And there is certainly no right or wrong. But there is a strong voice inside of me that is saying, okay, if this can only inspire one person, and if this reflection process is helpful for me, then this is maybe more on the signal side. And if it's aligned with the impact that I want to have. Is there sometimes something bigger that I could be working on? And the answer is probably yes. You will still see me posting, but I will continue to challenge myself, asking myself the question, what's the biggest impact that I can have? What are the 5 most important things that I could do in the next 18 hours?
So, yeah, Tilman, few things. So first off, thanks for setting up 2 challenges for yourself. For me, impossible to add any spices on top. I think this is already a good packaging. So you had 2 things. The first one was, I would call it masterclass, like a quick start into communication. Yes. The second one was a video about context engineering. Maybe here you can also share what is already accessible by you, so we can add it into the descriptions of this episode so that everyone can find it easily. And on the last point, what you said about your LinkedIn post, I have a very strong opinion here. I would say definitely keep that, because what you see is people have a very strong bullshit radar nowadays. So if it's AI content, people more and more, and there are like different measurements about that and polls, you will see that if you research about it. We can also add it in the attachments. People are having a bullshit detector radar. And if they see if something is AI generated, or even sometimes 100% AI generated, text or video content, they don't like it. They don't trust it. They want the human touch. And I think it's the right way of communicating and keeping the signal ratio high for others, like writing it ourselves. It doesn't help if AI creates mass content and everyone is overloaded. Then first, who should consume it? And where is the true value for everyone? And yeah, please keep that. I mean, maybe there are ways we can, find more impactful work. I think this is always an important question we should ask ourselves. But still, you shouldn't forget, I think you have around 10,000 followers or even more on LinkedIn. People are reading your posts. So it's well spent time, I would say. It's my personal opinion.
I appreciate it, Puria. And I will continue to do that.
Nice.
And this is now a good segue to speak more about AI. Maybe I can give a little sneak preview about mindset for building with AI.
Yeah,
and
please.
Then after that, maybe we can dive deeper into some of the AI themes and topics a bit deeper. So let me speak about mindset for AI. And I think 6 weeks ago, something incredible happened. Together with Vlad, who is a good friend of mine now, we once spoke together at an event about vibe coding context engineering. And then we created this masterclass about with which mindset to approach vibe coding, right? Because you can do this training, you can use those tools, Kiro, Cursor, Codex, Cloud Code. But what makes the difference between somebody who's very good at it and somebody who's just average at it? And I don't have the magic formula for this, but I have a few ideas around this that I want to share. The first thing that I want to share is it's important that you align it with your purpose or your mission or something that is important for you. So why do you want to build with AI? Maybe you want to realize some big vision, some project. Or maybe if it's in your job, maybe you want to enjoy the process of innovating for your customer. So what's the bigger purpose? What are the professional goals, but also the personal goals? What's the identity that you have? So maybe from a developer or software engineer to a full stack AI engineer or an AI orchestrator or leading a team of an AI fleet. And I honestly sometimes feel like that when I have here my different coding windows open at the same time, working on a mobile app, on the web app, on another project that I want to start. And it's just fun to coordinate all those agents. And what are the beliefs and values that I have around that? So maybe there is a positive belief like AI is here to help. Responsible AI is everybody's responsibility. I value playfulness and trying out new things when it comes to AI. So then there are habits and strategies. For example, spending 8 hours per week on AI tutorials could be helpful, right? Instead of just not doing it. What are specific actions that I can take? What are environments that I want to put myself in? Now, these 6 things that I mentioned, they are actually the pyramid from Robert Dilts, which I learned in some of my psychology and personal development trainings, but it's perfectly applicable to how to approach this. And this is one of the concepts I will go deeper into in that session that I will deliver. So how do you become fully congruent with a goal that you set yourself? Align it with your purpose. Create that identity. Create those suitable beliefs and values and challenge beliefs and values that are not suitable for that. Have the right habits and strategies to approach it. Take the right actions. Go into the right environments. Create those people around you. And then there are other things that are mindset related. For example, there are very popular self-manipulation techniques, and these exist also independently of AI. One self-manipulation technique is, oh, I already know that. This is nothing new for me. This is basically signaling yourself, all right, now you can shut off. You already know that. No new information. Or asking yourself not helpful questions or not helpful statements like, I can't do this. And some people have these guiding questions, these guiding statements. A person who was very, very close to me sometime during this year, she used to often say, I can't do this, I can't do that. Or another person I know would say, what's wrong with me? What's wrong with her? What's wrong with him? So these are very unhelpful, continuous, repetitive questions. And another thing is doing things that don't bring a desired outcome over and over and over again. Or if an AI agent got stuck in a way or something is not working, building a workaround. And this is oftentimes the same in life. Taking some medicine instead of working against the symptom, or working for the health instead of fighting the disease. So there are some unhelpful patterns in the human mindset, and these just translate to working with AI agents. And just to wrap this up, so what would be more positive ways now to approach those things? Now, instead of saying, I already know this, always say, oh, I want to have new perspectives. Maybe I want to consult with another AI model. So I'm building with Codex, but now I want to consult with Claude, for example. Mm-hmm. Getting different perspectives. Another thing is, what would a successful person say? So what is their identity? Somebody who's really good at building with AI, at working with AI. How do they see AI? Maybe they have some very positive beliefs. Yeah, AI is here to help. AI is my collaborator. And also this getting perspectives, taking a step back, re-evaluating the situation, taking a breath, maybe going for a walk, taking a shower, taking a day off, and then reassessing the situation, noticing the pattern, doing things in a new way, or asking for help. And there is much more to this, and you see how we can go into the depth of the mindset. And one of my favorite moments in this masterclass with 200 developers was we even did a short meditation and triad exercise. We even did a meditation exercise. And I think there are some groups of people that are really familiar with meditation. I think actually people in the tech space, they are getting more and more familiar with those concepts. But I think there are still a lot of techies that are not. And opening them up for this, it meant a lot for me. So these are some of the things that are going to expect you in that masterclass.
I really love that. And I would say this is a complete different, and please don't get me wrong, I would say a non-technical view looking at this. And it's super important because as you saw, like with this brain rot paper about how to interact with LLMs, the way we interact with them on the one hand is important in terms of what types of quality we get back, but also in terms of how we are actually using our chances to get the right information back from the AI. So I really love what you said in terms of, hey, don't always assume you know the answer. Take a step back and explore new possibilities.
And take responsibility. Take ownership of the results of the outcomes. Put yourself into the mind of an AI, if you want to say that. What is the information they need? And then leading another person or leadership in the world with humans and leading or managing an AI, it's not so different. You need to provide the right instructions, the right context, set clear outcomes, clear goals, provide all the resources necessary, and then take ownership of the outcome. Even if somebody else is helping you with something, is doing something for you, take ownership of the outcome. Be proactive. If something is not working out, if you are not succeeding at something, ask yourself, okay, how could we achieve that? What would we have to do differently? So have that growth mindset when you work with AI.
And Tilman, I think this is something also, for example, highlighted by people like Werner Vogels, the CTO of Amazon, in his recent keynote at re:Invent, which is like the main event of AWS in Las Vegas. It was also, by the way, his last keynote, which is a bit sad, but he used this momentum and this time point to underline one thing. He calls it the Renaissance developer. And in his keynote, and we will also add the link here, because I think it's a beautiful keynote, he also says that if we don't take the ownership about the results that come out from the AI, it's like we're gambling, because these are probabilistic systems, and we should have the ownership of understanding what is the result coming out. And even for folks who are not deeply technical in our vibe coding, you still have the chance to ask the AI to summarize you. And even in most cases, they already summarize what they did. So they tell you, hey, these were the things I changed in the code. So please go through it, please understand it, and even use AI to create the overall architecture behind. And I really love that you underlined this, like it's still our responsibility. And it's also important for our own development, but also the results we produce with AI.
And since you are now moving a little bit to the technical direction, and by the way, I also love the thing that you said about Werner, and it's a pity that this was his last keynote. I saw his LinkedIn post where for the first time he went to the Amazon River. Mm-hmm. And he was kind of making fun of it, that working for Amazon for I don't know how many years, I think 2 decades or so, for the first time he went to the Amazon. And then a few months later, he had his last keynote.
A great role model.
Going a bit more on
let's do that.
To the technical side again. Let's speak a bit about a few of the things that happened in 2025. Maybe we can go just chronologically through them, and maybe this is something I can surprise you a bit with. But let's see.
Thank you, Tilman.
Let's see.
Thanks for the preparation. This is amazing.
So let's start early in 2025 when DeepSeek came out. And it shocked the market a little bit, because at that time most of the people, they had never seen a reasoning model, and they experienced it in such an advanced way, because I think ChatGPT 01 was still behind the paywall. Then suddenly DeepSeek was accessible and it was working so well, and the stock market reacted to it. What's your perspective, or anything that you want to share around this?
Yeah, I think with DeepSeek, which was great, was that we saw that the distillation process, which is that you take a large model, the knowledge of this model, and send over the information in terms of teaching a smaller model, so learning from this big teacher model, that this approach worked very well for them, because when you looked at the benchmarks, you could see DeepSeek R1, which was like the main model, was of course very powerful, and it was an open source model and much more intelligent than commercial models. So this was the first, I would say, signal. But the second signal was as well, and this was a bit hidden, that actually the distilled models were very close to the main model. And in terms of running the distilled models, they were like factor 10 cheaper. And this was like super impressive as well. But of course, which got the main focus was definitely that they could train an open source model, which was state of the art and made it accessible to everyone. And this had a huge aha effect for everyone in the industry, because the training, the capital that they invested was much smaller than what others invested. So they had a lot of algorithmic optimizations, and this really helped them to be very frugal, to use an Amazonian term, in terms of how much capacity they use for the training process.
So then later in the year, also ChatGPT released their first open source model. And then there was I think there is this overall question of model commoditization. But at the same time, the models get stronger, and it looks like, and I myself can confirm that, people want to work with the most powerful, with the strongest models most of the times.
Yeah, and I would say also the access becomes more and more easier throughout the year. So we will also see with... So you got the commercial models, they got integrated better into IDE. So for example, Codex or Claude Code or Kiro. So the access to these LLMs became much, much easier, and it's integrated to the spot where you are using it on a daily basis. But also smaller models became better over time, so that people even could run smaller models directly on their local machine. And then started to have this combination of some local LLMs and some bigger LLMs in the cloud in a hosted environment.
And now we can think of, future scenarios where you think applications running really mainly on LLMs, or entire organizations running on LLMs, which would lead to, 100,000x AI consumption. Which brings us probably to the massive AI infrastructure build out. And please don't quote me on the numbers that I'm mentioning, but this is something which I think in a pace that we haven't seen before. These huge investments, I think it started early in the year with this mega deal between OpenAI and Oracle about infrastructure build out, but this was just the beginning. And then the commitments, they continued also with other large tech players like AWS, Google, Microsoft, all committing to huge infrastructure investments. So there is definitely something coming, because at the same time we experience that the work is changing inside of organizations. I think we experience that now in AWS, but also we experience that when we are innovating the products of our customers, and I guess we are just scratching the surface of what is possible. So
absolutely,
I'm not going to make any statement. There is this huge debate about an AI bubble. Is it a bubble or not?
That's the other side.
We're not going to open that box. I'm not going to open that box.
I don't want neither to do that here. But maybe one thing we can maybe align on and like share in terms of a signal. Maybe the access to AI becomes even easier in the next year, right? So this is a trend I think we both see because of these investments. For example, with AWS, we see the sovereign cloud now in Germany. This is just one release, or the expansion of cloud capacity in Germany, but also globally and also with other hyperscalers. And this will, for developers and software companies at the end, mean that they have a much easier access to AI solutions.
Speaking about developers, I remember in February, we organized this roundtable for the Collège des Ingénieurs. So I did an MBA at Collège des Ingénieurs. Actually, last year, we organized the first AI roundtable in the AWS office with a large audience. This year was the second version with Puria and two other colleagues. I think we had Tomasz and we had Felix, who's now at AI. We had you in the roundtable. I was deeply inspired. And I remember how you were discussing that the world of software development is completely going to change. Now, thinking back of February and how you think about it now, any thoughts on that?
Yeah. Tilman, thanks a lot. First off, backhand to organizing this. I think it was amazing. And the alumni from Collège des Ingénieurs were fantastic people, a great network. And they had also fantastic questions. So I really remember like it was just like a fluid conversation from the beginning until the end. And we had also this perception ourselves. This was like one of the strongest messages we wanted to share. This new economy of multi-agentic. And back then it still was quite fresh. Back then it still was like the early beginnings of MCP even, where access to tools was still becoming easier. And now at the end of the year, I think if you talk about people from the software industry about multi-agentic, it's common knowledge. It's nothing special anymore. And here you see like the rapid pace. Back then it was like, let's see. And now it's like, of course. This development was massive in the last months.
And building agents, it used to be an art.
Exactly.
It used to be an
art.
And then we had these platforms, and we still have them, like N8N, where you could build very complex workflows, like connecting the dots. But now I think going one step further, building with open source frameworks, really native agents, like with Strands, LangChain, OpenAI SDK, or the Google SDK, building agents, and even building them in an automated way. And now business users using tools like Amazon Quick Suite or the Google and the Microsoft equivalent, or using ChatGPT Business, they can now build their own agentic streams on these user interfaces. And it's getting more and more also prompting with natural language, having the right connectors and integrations in place. And then people building their own AI workflows. And again, I think here we are also just scratching the surface.
Yeah, absolutely, Tilman. And I would say also thanks a lot for bringing this thought also about like business users. So now it's like super easy for everyone to create multiple agents within minutes. And then also on top of that, if you go like one layer below when it comes to the infrastructure, for example, this experiment we did now with AgentCore, like deploying in 15 minutes. This is not just about us thinking about, okay, how much can we compress into 15 minutes of deploying code? It's really about tasks that take weeks, because production means scalability. Production means configuring your security. Production means configuring your container orchestration. It means setting up memory. It means setting up your identity connection to your, for example, identity pool in Okta or Microsoft Entra, having an overflow, and so on. These things take weeks. So if you start writing it down in developer days, you will end up in weeks. And this is now compressed. So AgentCore is one way to do that. It's super compressed, and this changed the whole dynamic now on multiple layers, from infra to the highest layer with business users.
So we think of agents, and I think we went into the year with some ideas and visions, and now it's so concrete. And then there was MCP coming in the year, and then tools, but now also Claude Skills, for example, and OpenAI announced also to adopt them. So much innovation coming along that process. At the beginning of the year, reasoning models were something quite new. And now I think over 50% of model usage is actually from reasoning models. So we see how fast the adoption is. We already spoke about the adoption of coding use cases, but the scale that it already reached, and I think we are still just at the beginning, it's so massive. I couldn't have imagined that. I didn't see that coming. And I saw the post from Andrew Carpathy on Friday where he says, roll your sleeves not to fall behind. Where he explicitly says, I've never felt this much behind as a programmer.
Wow.
Andrew
and it's Andre.
but yeah, it's about how to involve agents, sub-agents, how to prompt them, giving the context, memory, how to integrate it, different models, different permissions, tools, plugins, and then skills, then hooks, MCP, different workflows, integrating into IDEs or using it in the terminal itself. So there are so many degrees of freedom.
Absolutely. It's really a sport now to catch up. So I also hope we are helping with our podcast, to facilitate that process.
Maybe we can be empathetic to all those who sometimes feel a little bit overwhelmed. But I think
absolutely.
I would reframe this in a positive way. Maybe who feel inspired sometimes. I mean, if you just let it inspire you and stay on track, be open.
It's maybe one of the best times to create new content, create new products, have this entrepreneurial mindset. There are a lot of opportunities, and I think we are helping on that most probably with our podcast. And I think if we also ourselves iterate over this multiple times, I'm pretty sure. So maybe we can take this for episode 50, like a review in a few weeks. Also, how we saw this progress of taking this inspiration / overwhelming challenge with AI and skill development you need to be a good developer. How we solve this over time with our audience.
The more we can provide frameworks, the better. So I really like what you just said, Puria. And I mean, we will invite also external guests into the podcasts, but then the energy between the two of us and the audience who is part of it, and then also other guests coming into the podcast, maybe we can deliver on that mission or thing that you just described.
Fingers crossed.
And you described it in such a vague way, and I love it, because setting an intention in a little bit vague way is sometimes very powerful, because then some very interesting frameworks and outcomes can develop out of that.
Yeah, looking forward to it.
Yeah.
Let's figure out a few interesting frameworks on that.
Speaking a bit about 2026 now, ultimately, what are some things that you have in mind? I think we spoke about that last time already. Some of the things that you see coming next year, some of the things you're excited about.
Yes, I'm fully excited about this commercial integration of AI into customer experience flow. So this e-commerce spice of agentic AI, I think this is something very important in next year. So AI helping us to optimize how we discover items online, how we organize our purchasing process. There are already good signals around it. I'm now using this term signal over and over again. I think it's my favorite word today. But for example, you see now this protocol from Google helping with e-commerce. They have this, there's, I think it's OpenAI and Stripe, a collaboration around this. So this is becoming more and more important. And I think this is something on top from what we discussed last week, definitely, from what I'm seeing. What do you think? Yeah.
So something similar. I also saw the integration of OpenAI and Stripe, but also with Lovable, with Clay. So more and more applications are now, you can control them, you can get the information from your coding agents of choice, which is a very, very powerful thing. So enriching all kinds of applications and use cases with AI features but also coming up with completely new ways of value creation that are really AI native. Personally, I'm also very excited about these AI hardware devices. Whatever these devices will look like in the future, and there are, I think, a few players that play a role here. And obviously everything that's going to happen in the enterprise space. And this is, I think, from the technological perspective, very exciting, but also from the change management perspective, very exciting. I have the sense, and please challenge me on that, but I have the sense that the vast majority of people is actually really waking up to this, is really quite curious. And that's a beauty, because privately they get so familiar with ChatGPT and with Gemini and the other tools that they develop this openness for applying those things in their professional work as well. So I think the inspiration is there, and still in a lot of cases it makes sense to go for some extra miles in terms of diving deeper into the topic. And there are now opportunities for each and everybody who is listening to this podcast actually to step up and start their own AI initiative in the organization, or join an existing AI initiative, or build your AI masterminds. Discuss some topics. Okay, what does it mean for business, but also personally? How do you feel interacting with AI? What are maybe some risks? What are some things you're excited about? What are some trends we could maybe create a learning circle around? So be open, be curious, and maybe the people you think are most influential, and I can share my list with you maybe next time. The people who are most influential, follow them, consume their material, see what they are posting on X, see what communities, what groups they are part of. And then you discover some new training program that you could do, or some people you can interact with, some new communities. So be open for that. And I would say, yes, there are many negative scenarios out there, or a lot of things that can not go well, and we have to be responsible and steer those things in a good direction. But there are even more things, amazing things that we can make out of this technology. So let's be open for those positive things, while at the same time taking responsibility to design those new systems in a very responsible way. I think these are my last words for today.
It's amazing. Yeah, I wanted to say, so this is a great way to wrap up today's episode. So thanks a lot for that, Tilman. Before we close this, I have a few more items. So one of them is, do you have any challenges for me for next week? So I will definitely make sure to publish the video. And happy to take up the next challenge for next week.
Okay, give me a second. You are good in health and nutrition and workout, right?
Yeah. Yes.
All right. So, Puria, your challenge for next week, and I'm glad we waited for this until the end of the episode. I'm curious, your newsletter is called Pumpin' Code. Can you elaborate a little bit on that? Because there is a muscle on the logo.
Oh yeah. Thanks for bringing this up. So my initial mission with Pumping Code was to inspire the next generation of developers and architects to combine actually sport and this coding lifestyle and IT lifestyle. Because when I was in a university, this wasn't there like as a trend or something you could really feel like going through you as a pulse. And I wanted to change that with Pumping Code. So that's why I decided for this brand. And it's also interconnected with Schwarzenegger's Pumping Iron back then, like 30, 40 years ago. And I wanted like to fusion like Pumping Iron and coding and AI with Pumping Code, like to give it a new spirit. This is the background, but now I'm curious what you have in mind in terms of a challenge.
So it's beautiful what you said, and I think the world needs to know about this. So your challenge will be to make a video, it could be 2 or 3 minutes, where you speak from your heart why you created Pumping Code, and just basically say what you were just telling us and publish this on YouTube. And under this, you also provide the link to one exercise set that you recommend people. Maybe a set of exercise that everybody can do.
Roger on that. Accepted.
Good.
I have one more, Tilman. So first of all, thanks for the challenge. let's think of one common goal together we want to define for next year. And then let's manifest it in this moment.
All right.
We can also take a moment now and then send it out.
I mean, I have a number in mind. I hope I don't under-manifest. But I'm officially stating to the universe here, you can make it bigger. You can make it bigger. So
Okay.
I would say at least 10,000 people subscribe to our channel. And at least 50 videos by the end of the year.
Yes, and I make it 100,000. No, I make it 1 million. So it's out. 1 million is the goal for next year.
Nice. I love it. I love it.
And one more thing as an inspiration. When I started Udemy, the first day I released, I was like, will even one person discover it? And what happened? 2 minutes later, someone from South Korea bought the course. South Korea. I'm currently in Frankfurt, Germany. And this was for me a proof today's world is so interconnected and we can find each other so much easier. And I really believe with this podcast, we can achieve that goal. I know it's ambitious, but we can do it.
And you are witnessing this today in the second episode ever of the Extra Mile podcast. So please hold us accountable on that as well.
Oh, yeah.
I'm really looking forward to that. And I
Me
hope
as well.
more people will listen to our podcast in different life situations, as we already heard. It's also great to listen to it during workout and in whichever moment it's right for you.
Absolutely. Thanks a lot for everyone already supporting us from the get-go. This means a lot to us and we really appreciate it. And this is also our motivation to go the extra mile for you. And also thanks a lot to my co-host Tilman. It's always a well-spent hour with you. Today it was even more than an hour and I think it was definitely worth it.
Please subscribe to our podcast. Please subscribe to our channel. We see you in the next episode. I wish you finish the year strong, an amazing 2026. May all your dreams and wishes and goals come true. Manifest strong, take action, do it with heart, and be consistent. And just trust. Things are going to fall into place. Anything else you want to say at the end,
Fingers
Puria?
crossed. Nothing to add. All the best for all of you in the next year. Thank you so much, Tilman. And see you in the new year and in the next episode.
See you in the new year.
Extra mile.
Yes,
See you.
the extra mile. Go the extra mile. Bye.
Bye-bye.